Hi, welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Angela Yeager.
And that makes me, Brian Michael. We have a good show for you today. We're going to be reviewing a new film, as well as an Oscar-nominated film, a new film that's available on DVD that you probably missed out in the theaters, so stay tuned for that. We're going to rant on the Oscars a little bit. Oh, Angela's ready for this. And then, of course, we have a viewer's pick that was sent out from a viewer out there to us that we watched. That's what you do when you go on our website. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to click on the subscribe button as well as the little bell so it'll notify you when we post new episodes. Okay, so the clip you saw at the top of the show is A Little Stranger, and this stars Domhnall Gleeson as a doctor who's called out to an English manor, and once he gets there, strange things start to occur. And this is directed by Lenny Abrahamson, who also did the wonderful Frank as well as the fantastic Room. So I had high expectations going into this film. And, you know, right off the bat, I really enjoy, I like Domhnall Gleeson, excuse me, who chooses some really cool movies that I actually really enjoy, the interesting films that he does. Certainly he's been in big blockbuster films, but he also, when he's not doing those, he makes some very interesting choices. It also has Will Poulter, who I really enjoyed, who tends to like to play people with accents, or this one he's a burned war veteran as well. He always likes to choose some scenery, and I really enjoy him in that as well. And then Ruth Wilson, who is an actress I wasn't too familiar with, that immediately had great chemistry with Domhnall Gleeson. And I really enjoyed about 3/4 of this film because it kind of felt as kind of a love story, and he had this feeling towards this manor because he had visited as a child, and he always looked up to it because his mother had worked there as a maid. And then strange things start to happen, but it isn't until, I mean, it kind of happens a little bit through the film, but it isn't until the last bit that all of a sudden, oh, it's a haunting or something might be supernatural, might be happening at the house. And it took so long to get there. By that time, I was already off on another path, wanting this to be more like Brooklyn, another film that I think he was in, that I really enjoyed the love story between him and the young woman in the house, and all of a sudden it changes gears, and it just, I like the film. I can recommend it. It's a beautiful, wonderful film. It's a looking film. It's great performances, but it just, the story just didn't gel for me.
This is their typical like 3-star movie in a way, in that it has a lot of the elements there. It's good actors across the board. You have Charlotte Rampling also. I don't know if you mentioned her as the matriarch of the household. Great, solid performances, beautiful photography. And I liked kind of the throwback. You don't see a lot of gothic kind of thrillers, you know, these kinds of movies, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre-esque type things. It had a little bit of that feeling to it, but without the stuffy language, you know, and it's set a little bit more modern. I think it's supposed to be the 30s or 40s perhaps. But but it doesn't stick the landing at the ending. And we've been seeing a lot of films like that this year where it's really good until the end, and then you're kind of sitting there going, what? I don't know. This one, the ending to me was not satisfying, and you're right, they spend so long developing his character, who is really interesting. Not necessarily the most likable guy in the whole world,
and
but
that's
very
what I liked about that, because I was like, I don't know if I would really want to sit and have an evening talking about this guy.
He's kind of stuffy, he's a little odd, but you know, he's a professional. You know, he really cares about his job and doing a good work, but you also get this sense there's just this little bit of a touch to him where he's very sensitive about, and you know, and like a lot of English films, there's a lot of class issues wrapped up in this. His character's very sensitive because he came from a poor background, and he's always admired this house, and he was there when he was a child, and so we know there's some sort of connection, and that somehow that's all going to tie together, but it doesn't really tie together until the very, very end. And then once it does, like you said, I was kind of like, okay, that's it.
And actually, to be honest, you know, you explained the ending to me without really explaining, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, they did say it was supposed to be something like that, and then, I didn't care.
Yeah, they had one of those scenes where some character alludes to what it's really going to mean.
Do you know what the meaning of this is? And then like an hour later, something happens, and you're supposed to remember it. Yeah, it just, you know, I would have preferred the Wuthering Heights type situation, where it was a Brooklyn situation, or it was just about the love affair, or him falling for her, or not having that, because I really like the chemistry that they both had.
And I thought it was going somewhere else for a slight amount. I even said something to you like, oh, maybe she's not interested in him for these certain reasons, or that would have been kind of an interesting twist even, because it would have been focused on the romance. But then it's trying to it's sort of a haunted house movie, but then not really. It's like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
So it's nice of him to do a new movie that isn't a one-word title, because when you said Frank and Room, I thought, well, he's got multiple words in the title.
Yeah.
But I still would recommend it because the performances are really good, and for the most part, it kept my attention. It just, to me, didn't stick the landing. It kept it from being great.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, oh boy, here's a real film Snobs rant. We haven't done one of these in a long time.
Several years.
And,
we haven't been
quite
ranting.
some time. Yeah. We've just been reviewing. And so recently the Academy Awards mentioned that they're making some changes to their broadcast. Not only are they trying to keep it to 3 hours and shorten it because, God forbid, it's too long and it goes till 9:30, 10 o'clock, oh no, on a Sunday. And then they're also, by doing this, what they're going to need to do is they're going to have some categories that aren't going to be announced during the broadcast. Apparently they're going to be doing them either before the show or during commercials.
Yeah.
And then they're going to show some editing and then throw that together, and it's going to be another montage. Another montage! Yay, for the Academy Awards. Oh boy. And then, of course, boy, the big fun part about that we're going to be talking a lot about is that they're going to add a new category of most popular movie. Yeah, let's do that, because that's what you need in the Academy Awards, a prestige, as much as it can be, prestige, because Oliver won one year. But yeah, they're going to have most popular movie, so that way Fast and the Furious future movies will be able to win that, hopefully. If they do the Harry Potter reboot, which they will, that'll win the most popular movie. I don't understand this. I don't get it. I mean, it's a way of getting the Black Panther, because because of
Which
Dark
I think
Knight,
probably would have been nominated in the Best Picture.
It's going to be
category.
anyway.
In the 10.
If they do the 10, it will.
Years ago, when Dark Knight was snubbed, as many people felt it was snubbed, they went from 5 to 10.
Which I actually
Best
really
Picture,
liked. I like having more than 5.
Yeah,
yes.
So they allowed up to 10 based on a voting system. And it's not always 10 every year. Some years it's 7, some years it's 8.
Yes.
But they allow for more than 5. And at the time we were kind of like, that seems silly, but whatever, okay.
I've enjoyed it.
But
there's always been one or two, the Blind Side being nominated, but every year there will always be the
thing with expanding it to 10, it has allowed for some smaller movies to get in, as well as more popular films each year.
It's mostly the smaller ones.
Mostly smaller ones.
Yeah.
Because those are the really good films.
It's
allows
called Best
movies
Picture,
kind of like Moonlight and others like that to get nominated.
Yes.
So the most popular picture, they haven't stated what they're going to define this as. So it's caused a huge rumor mill. How are they going to define popular? The only thing they've come out and said after the initial just complete horror that most film critics and film lovers had at this news is that they said the best popular picture will be allowed to compete also for Best Picture. So similar to Best Animated Film, it could be nominated in both categories.
Yeah, but not documentary, because documentaries can't do them both. That's weird.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And also, why would it matter? If you're the most popular film and you're the Best Picture, you should just be in the Best Picture category.
It's all about ratings. And so whenever they had like Avatar nominated, and pitted it against The Hurt Locker, really, that was a competition. And then Titanic was big the one year. And sure, I understand it's all about advertising and stuff, but the big thing when it comes down to is the show itself. Now, we've talked about this. We're film fans, obviously, and I have an Oscar party that I co-host every year. We have a big, we play bingo, we play all kinds of games, we sit and make fun of outfits, or we talk about outfits, and we watch it, and we have a contest so you can pick the most winners. That's what most film lovers do, even though you may not agree with it.
We don't care about 3 hours, 3.5, 4.
That's not a
maybe
problem.
If it went to 5 or 6, we'd start to complain.
But even though even though the wrong films, in our opinion, may win or whichever, or more popular ones may win, and that's ridiculous, or makeup awards happen, that's fine, and we go with it. But these are those are the fans are those are the people that are going to be watching every year. We watch it for the gowns, we watch it for the setup, the sets, all of this.
We've actually seen all the nominees.
We've seen all the nominees. Now every year at the party, there's some people. Oh, Scott doesn't watch the show. My co-host will invite some people that are like, they'll walk in and the first thing they say is, I haven't seen all of the movies. And I want to throw things at them. And they know who they are. Scott does too. He won't watch this. Don't tell Scott I said this.
He might
so
watch
anyway,
it. Just be careful.
He won't.
He's a sponsor.
But anyway, so they always come in and say, "I never seen this." Well, the award show really isn't for them. They sit there, they kind of make fun of some things, and they enjoy it only because it's a big group of people getting together.
Sure, well,
they
it's just fine. It's like the Super Bowl.
They
Some
vow to
people
watch
show
all
up
of the
for
movies
nachos.
afterwards, and they never do. But this is who this is for. This isn't for the popular people. You know, when they have the big fashion week in New York, they're not saying, "Hey, we should try to dumb this down and so that you can go right from the runway into Target." Nothing against shopping at Target, but that's not what this is for. This is for, you know, hardcore fashion fans, and eventually those kind of influences make its way to Target, sure. But for film fans, this is, you know, this is our big Super Bowl night to kind of sit and watch and see what everybody's wearing and who's going to win. Hopefully, we always have like there's one or two people that we really want to win. We know that some of the ones that we want to win aren't going to happen, but there's always a couple that we hold on to, like Get Out winning Best Screenplay. That was the one that was like, come on, let it win that.
Yeah, we were really excited.
We wanted that to win, and when it won, we cheered.
Yes. Yeah, and it's also the unpredictability of the Oscars by shortening it to 3 hours and trying to keep it this compact, very predictable little show. You know, those of us who love movies, we want to see the guy or the woman who was Best Documentary Short go up there and accept their award and say something crazy maybe, or say something unpredictable, or say something political. And if it's just going to be this stagnated, like everyone just stays to this little script and then we go up and get our award, why would anyone watch it? And as it is, it's already become a little bit like that in recent years. We don't get the crazy outfits anymore. You know, they started pre-taping it so they could, you know, not pre-taping it exactly, but doing things so they could delay it. So, you know, in case someone says anything too edgy.
Melissa Leo.
Yeah, but they've taken some of that away already. Yeah. The other thing with popular though, and I think you were one of the first people who brought this up. Popular movies have a prize. It's called box office, as you said, and they make $1 billion worldwide. This isn't for them. This is for movies like Moonlight, and I always bring up Moonlight because it's one of the Best Picture, you know, winners in recent years, in my opinion. A movie that truly deserved to win Best Picture, that actually won. And a lot of people saw it just because it was nominated for an Oscar. They would not have gone to see that movie otherwise. And that's a really good thing. And people that are going to go see whatever the newest superhero movie is, or Fast and the Furious, or whatever, Mission Impossible even, they're going to see it regardless. They don't care if it was
Mission Impossible
nominated.
6 be our most popular? Oh, darn.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a conundrum.
But it's also going to be nominated for all those technical categories, which those films always get nominated in, editing or special effects or whatever, action, sequence, whatever. I don't think they have an action sequence, but you know what I mean. They have all those other technical categories.
MTV has that. They were talking about having best action sequence. They were talking about having best stunts and stuff like that.
It just seems really unnecessary. And I'm really curious how they're going to define it, because it will be by budget, by how much it made. If it's $100 million, then movies, as you pointed out, like La La Land, would still be nominated for best popular movie because it made over $100 million. So it's still going to have some prestige movies up against popular.
If you look at every year, there's always a big box office hit that's
nominated for Best Picture.
Year.
Last year we had Dunkirk. We had which other one? We had a few others that were big movies.
Get Out. Avatar, like I mentioned, was nominated.
Out,
Star Wars was really nominated. Jaws was never really nominated. I mean, come on, it's just
silly.
Ridiculous, and they're going to ruin it.
And I don't think it will help the ratings that much. It might the first year, but for the most part, people that only care about the most mainstream movies are not going to watch 3 hours of movies they've never heard of for one category. So it's too bad. I hope they don't wreck it, or I hope they change it back after 1 year of wrecking it. So we'll move on to our next movie. Speaking of the Oscars, this is our Oscar-nominated category we've been doing here on Real Film Snobs, reviewing films that have been nominated for Oscars over the years that we wanted to get done.
Get done.
Get done. And this one is directed by Paul Newman. It's Rachel from 1968. It's about a middle-aged school teacher, played by Joanne Woodward, who lives with her mother and begins to rethink her life after a series of events. And now this is we've had a lot of issues with 60s films of late, and I actually can recommend this one, believe it or not. I actually liked this. It's a 3-star movie.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it is Joanne Woodward's performance is, I think, is a great performance. And one of the things I liked about it is she's playing this kind of middle-aged spinster character, which we've seen, I don't know how much in film, a lot. But
middle-aged spinster.
Well, that's what they were like making it.
She's like 30-something.
They said she's 35, and as far as Hollywood's concerned, 1968, she might as well be 90.
Well, yeah.
Because they're like, oh.
You're just going to play mom roles now.
Yeah. So, but what I liked about her character, she's not an entirely likable character. She's very droll. She's very tied off and keeps things close to her chest. And doesn't have a great sense of humor. I'm really selling this movie, I know. But you often feel like in these movies where it's the single daffy female. She's just this free-spirited gal that no one understands, and she's quirky, and eventually she'll find Mr. Right. But you don't necessarily get that sense with this character. You don't necessarily get the sense she might even find Mr. Right. And it's not as much about that. Even by the end, it's more about her making a decision to actually do something with her life.
I will say that's a nice. They did stick the landing because she moves
that.
out to Oregon. So it was really
that was the ending. I know, which they said wrong.
To Oregon,
or they said it wrong. But
yeah, sure, Oregon. I did not hate this movie. I did not dislike this movie.
Good to see that on the poster. I did not hate this movie. Brian
now,
Michael.
we watched this a few weeks ago, but I've actually talked about the movie a few times, so it did stick. So I did enjoy that. Now, of course, it was pretty easy for some of the scenes because of my background and what I do for a living. If you watch the show, then you figured it out, and if you haven't, well, keep watching. So I did enjoy this one. But it felt a little more TV movie of the week, which I do enjoy some of those, so I can recommend this movie. And that kind of comes from Paul Newman a little bit here, so I'll pick on Paul Newman. Now I'm going to make the Knowles mad. And if you turn the volume off on this, if I turn the volume off on this movie, you have no idea what was going on and no idea what was happening. There's no visuals in terms of anything that kind of just shows anything. It's kind of the camera's placed here. We'll zoom in here. We'll swirl the camera around.
Because he's an actor and he's just focused on her and her
Charles
performance.
Lofton also directed one film as well. So
and Night of the Hunter of the Great.
Marlon Brando just we had recently seen.
Well, he's the type of actor that directs and focuses on the actor.
And the acting,
it's just it's all about the acting.
But I did like the movie. I did like her, certainly her character. What traumatized her made me roll my eyes, of course, again because of me. But I did enjoy the movie. But it's just kind of it was good.
I thought it was better than some of these other women find themselves movies we've seen of the '60s of late, because some of those have been really bad.
It's the '60s. Oof, the '60s.
Like the school teacher one with Sandy Dennis. That was terrible. So I'm just saying, that one was really bad. So in comparison, I enjoyed this one. This was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Screenplay.
You mean Paul Newman was nominated for Best Picture? The actors loved that, so they of course.
Yeah, he wasn't actually nominated for Best Director though.
It was nominated over 2001 and stuff like that.
Yeah, 1968. No, movies you've never heard of, like 2001: Space Odyssey.
No. That's easy.
So yeah.
Okay.
So we'll move on to our next segment, which is her fresh picks. Those are my picks. These are critically acclaimed films from the current year, in this case 2018, that we might have missed reviewing or didn't see in the theaters. In this case, I think we both saw this in the theater, but just we weren't taping, or I don't know what happened, but we didn't review it when it first came out. And now we're going to review it because now it's out on DVD and streaming. And the movie is The Rider, and it is about a man who suffers a serious head injury, and this young rodeo cowboy tries to find his way in life. It's directed by Chloe Zhao and stars Brady Gendreau as a character named Brady, his father Tim Gendreau as a character named Tim, and his sister Lily as a character named Lily. So if you're getting some similarities
amateur actors. So it's just easier if you name the character after yourself.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, so they know what to respond to. So yes, this is a very interesting film because it's got a lot of buzz, or lots of critics just salivating over this movie, and that has not always been a good thing this year because there's been a few that have been a little overrated. In this case, for the most part, I would say this one really paid off. I think you loved it maybe even more than I did.
I love this movie.
And I gave it 3.5, and I think you gave it 4, right?
3.5? Yeah, I think it's the best film of the year so far.
The best? Number one? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I should let you talk about it more then. Gosh.
Well, first of all, I just realized, what's called real film Snobs is a film reel, which they don't use anymore. We need to stop calling it a DVD review.
They still have DVDs. They still exist. They're things.
Yes, in your house. Currently
and your
mine.
house,
Only
too.
Because my television broke. So
you like DVDs. Shut up.
This is what I, because I haven't replaced them all yet. So this film opens up now. I'll warn, people that this film opens up with him pulling staples out of his head because he had gotten a metal plate put in his head from an accident that we don't get to see, but it happened during a rodeo. And so now he is a rodeo rider as well as a trainer of horses, and because of this injury, he can now no longer ride the rodeo, which I was like, well, duh, yeah, you have a metal plate in your head, dummy, stop doing this. And you're at an age where you got to do this. They're like, no, you can't ride horses. And you realize
that's his entire identity.
That is his entire life. This is what he was put on God's earth to do, and this is heartbreaking. So when you have a calling and you can no longer do this, it put me in a position, because when I watch a film, I think, oh God, what would I do? I'm like, well, I certainly wouldn't ride a horse, but I understand it and I can feel his pain. And so, you get to see him in his daily life. You see how he interacts with his friends. It's all around the rodeo. You see when he has a day job at a grocery store and people ask him for photographs because he's famous for his rodeo. I mean, it is heartbreaking. It is so heartbreaking. Then he has a horse. And the horse has to be sold. So then he gets another horse. And other things happen. This is the film that I believe that grown men will watch and cry. And I mean that in a good way, because it really pulled me in.
It's a very masculine film.
It is a very masculine film.
In a good way.
Yeah, and it really pulled at my heartstrings.
I don't know
you
what I
really
meant by
feel
that.
for this guy and his situation. And there's some beautiful photography when he does hop on a horse, which he does. And the entire time I'm going, oh my God, you can't be doing this. It's absolutely beautiful, and you see him at one with the horse. They show him training the horse, which is the best part of the movie.
Which is the actor
Oh
Brady.
my God.
That's what he does in real life, and this story was sort of inspired by him, but it's not biographical. These are actors playing parts.
Yeah.
I mean, the father, I assume, is not a jerk in real life. He's playing a character. The Brady sister Lily has autism in real life, and some of the interactions with those two together, I thought were some of the most beautiful scenes I've seen.
How can this not be 4 stars, Angela?
She's such a naturalistic actor.
Yeah.
I think I just maybe wanted more from it.
You need to watch it one more time. It's really
I did really,
good.
really enjoy it, and I can highly recommend
film.
it. Now, this director, she previously did a film called Songs My Brother Taught Me, and it's set on the same reservation that this film is set on. I forgot to mention that these are all Native Americans that are on a reservation as well, and she just became fascinated with this particular group of people and their land. She's from China. She has no connection to it whatsoever. You would not know that watching the film, though. It's documentary-like, but also gorgeous photography.
Oh, the photography.
And it's not a documentary; it's a fictional movie.
Cinematographer is God's Own Country, which is another really beautiful, natural-looking film.
Yeah. So this is the type of movie. This movie was nominated for an Independent Spirit Award, and we were talking about the Oscars earlier. And that is an awards show that truly honors. They're talking about these movies that are too small for the Oscars, but there's a lot of movies that don't get recognized by the Oscars that are too small. Florida Project, my favorite film of last year, did not get nominated.
With the Independent Spirit Awards, it's always that you kind of look at the ones that are nominated for Best Picture and Actor and
stuff.
And
the movies like The Writer are the ones you really want to pay attention to.
So like, those kind of go. And a lot of times it doesn't get to release until this year, so you see a lot of lists for this year, even though some people.
But definitely can highly recommend this. Seek it out. Songs My Brother Taught Me, I want to watch, and it is on DVD. Songs My Brother Taught Me, whatever service, I don't know, but it's also on that. So
service. Okay. Oh, streaming on the internet. So new. Anyway, all right. So our next segment is the viewer's pick. That's where you, the viewer at home, sent in a request for us to watch, and this one is sent by Carmen. I hope I'm saying that right. She didn't write her last name, so I don't have to say it, but I know how to say it correctly. She requested for us to see The Rewrite, and the reason she liked it says 30 years is way too long to have a successful screenplay. So what can you do? You know the old saying, those who can't do. I enjoyed this old man finally grows up movie. And she's referring to The Rewrite, which is made by Marc Lawrence, a filmmaker and writer who worked a lot with Hugh Grant and was it 2 Weeks Notice, and Did You Hear About the Morgans, and Music and Lyrics. Movies I have not seen except for 2 weeks. I think we saw when we first started the show. And this is about a writer who wrote a very successful screenplay in the early 90s that's set in present day, and he hasn't had his hit since. And so his agent gets him, a Hollywood agent, gets him a job at a college and then checks in on him. It's very unrealistic. She checks on him like
a lot.
Constantly to see how he's doing, which is really weird. But for film lovers out there, since you're watching the show, in his classroom is the wonderful and beautiful Marisa Tomei.
Yes.
And who has chemistry with, well, pretty much with anybody and everybody.
But she
has great chemistry with Hugh Grant. But I mean, it's Marisa Tomei. Who doesn't have chemistry with Marisa Tomei?
You would have to work hard on
She's
it, I'm
pretty amazing. It's a standard kind of film. I did enjoy the film. It was some cute stuff in there. It does feel like a male fantasy of, I can't write, or I can't have a success, so I will go to this college and I will sleep with young,
He literally gets together, and this is not giving anything away because it happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. He gets together with one of his students on the first night he is in town eating at a fast food restaurant.
Yep. Or a hopeful student. And of course, then he does pick all of the really attractive people who submitted to the
there's nothing realistic about this film at all. They would never allow you to do that, number one, in a class.
So then you put someone like Allison Janney in there to
and she gets to play the middle-aged, harpy woman, who's actually like the age-appropriate. Well,
who's a Jane Austen fan? I mean, that's... That's so
making fun of Jane Austen. It's a pretty misogynistic film in parts.
Yes.
I mean, it makes a lot of digs at women.
In a bad way.
And it's so, well, as opposed to the good type of misogyny.
You said the other one was a masculine
well, as
in a
opposed
good way.
to, I said masculine, not misogyny. The film is not misogynistic. It doesn't put down women. This one, you know, Hugh Grant even has this scene where, I mean, it's at a party and he's drunk, but he was like, I'm tired of female empowerment, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, whoa, okay. Marissa Tomei is the highlight of this movie. She has good chemistry with him, unlike Drew Barrymore in music and lyrics, which is by the same filmmaker, which I
can't
have
believe you've actually seen that movie.
I have, and they don't have good chemistry together. I don't remember why. I don't know. I'll blame someone.
There's Drew Barrymore movies. You gotta knock them all out.
I don't remember why I watched it. There must have been a reason, but this one,
Cable.
The thing is about Marissa Tomei, I looked her up because I was looking up her age. She's actually only 4 years younger than Hugh Grant. By Hollywood standards, they're like the same age, basically. So more age appropriate. After he gets done, with the co-eds, then he moves on to Marissa Tomei in this movie. But, she has no film projects coming up other than, of course, Spider-Man playing May Parker, blah, 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 who cares? Which is not much of a part. They haven't given her much to do in that series for Marissa Tomei's talents.
You haven't watched all of them, but yeah, okay, sure.
I have seen all the Spider-Man movies, but anyway, but she hasn't had a good meaty role since The Wrestler, maybe?
Yeah.
It's been a while. And she looks fantastic still, and she's a good actor, and it's just really a shame that's what Hollywood does to women over a certain age. Because Hugh Grant's still getting roles, and he is about the same age and looks way older, by the way, than Marissa Tomei. He has not aged so well, so just saying.
Let's don't be ageist. Okay. So thank you, Carmen, for the submission.
I can't recommend it, but I'm sorry. But I enjoyed watching it with Brian, so thank you for submitting anyway, because we had a lot of fun chortling together.
A quick little moment here of some seriousness that we recently lost a good friend of ours and a volunteer on the show, Victoria Roberts. She left us too soon, and we will miss her. That's all I'm going to say on that. Okay. So we both can recommend A Little Stranger, as well as Rachel, we both enjoyed. And can you recommend The Rewrite? No. And of course, we highly recommend The Writer. I think it's the best film of the year. And Scott, if you are watching, I was just teasing, but you know who I'm talking about, right? Okay. It's okay.
And we had our Film Snobs rant.
We had our Film Snobs rant, of course, with the Academy Awards there. And as always, we want to thank you for watching. We want to tell you to follow us on, follow us on Twitter. There's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's our Film Snobs website. You can watch us in Corvallis as well as Silverton, here in Salem.
Thank you for
you can listen to us on KUZ. And as always, have a great day and great movies.